So today we will discuss about few topics and what are the constraints available in Snowflake. So as we discussed earlier, so there is no concept of primary key, foreign key indexes in Snowflake. So let's see, even though if you define primary key on table, so how Snowflake will behave it. Okay. So I'm selecting the database DemoDB. By default, schema will be public schema. Create or replace table. Vendor. Vendor ID. Type I'll make it as integer. And vendor name I'll make it as a string. And vendor location I'll make it as string. So here, so the primary key would be vendor ID. Okay, so I'm applying constraint, which means the primary key for vendor ID. Okay, constraint. So constraint name would be primary underscore vendor ID. And the primary key is vendor ID. Okay, so here the constraint is the constant. So wherever you see this color, that it will keywords. Okay, so this, whichever the name you are comfortable, you can make it name. Okay, so or else I'll make it p underscore vendor ID, and the primary key is vendor underscore ID. Okay, so in this vendor ID, so if I specify a not null, which means this column should be mandatorily we have to give the value, not null in the sense. If you are not specifying anything, by default these columns will take null values or values also. But if you specify this column not null, which means we have to give the value. Okay, I'm trying to creating a table. Vendor underscore ID. Okay, vendor table is created successfully. So now I'm trying to inserting a records. Insert into table name is vendor values. And the vendor name I'm specifying and the location I'm specifying Bangalore. Okay, I have inserted two records. So now if I write a select query to view the data, select vendor underscore ID, comma, vendor underscore name, comma, location from vendor. So what will happen if I'm not giving anything? I'll just making as null. And if I try to execute, I'm trying to inserting this record. So it is not okay. So integer, right? Okay, numeric value space file not recognized because we are given not null value. Okay, and if I try to make the same record 401, because ideally the primary key is it will not allow the same value. Second time it will not allow you to insert it. So it will always allow the unique records, right? So if I try to inserting this record, still it will allow it. Okay. See, still, even though if I apply the primary key on this column, and still Snowflake is allowing to load the data. Okay. So the primary key constraints here is if you are wherever you are defining a primary key on a specific column, it is just for our reference only. It is not putting any constraints on top of the column. Okay. So actually, it will not apply any primary key here. Clear? Any doubts here? Okay. So yesterday we discussed how we load the data, right? So these many records are there, right? Total 49 records. So imagine if this table having some 1 billion records or 100 billion records. So when I execute this select statement, if the execution of the select query is taking more time, and in between if I cancel the query, what will happen is till the time whatever the data it is pulled from the data storage layer, it will not get stored in the cache. Okay, and also how much time it took and how many records it get selected until the time that for that Snowflake will charge. Clear? Here there is no concept of partial updated data, which may or partial collect the data. Clear? It is not only applicable about the select query, it is applicable for all type of queries. Either insert, delete, update, select, whatever the action or activity which you are performing in Snowflake, that execution should be completed successfully. Then only it will get updated, or then only we can expect the result. So there is no concept of partial caching or partial updating the data. Clear? This is an interview question. What if I abort a query or cancel a query? Will I get rollback all the partially updated data? The answer is no. The execution of the update statement must be completed. If it is not completed, then it will roll back all the records when you cancel the whole transaction. Okay. So what will happen if I execute this query, and in another session I have executed another query, same query I have executed different worksheets. In this worksheet I have executed this query. In this worksheet I have executed this query. In this worksheet I have executed this query. So what will happen is when we execute the query for the first time, that it will take and it will execute it if it is executing, and if the select query is taking more time, then the other select queries will be on queue status. Once the first query is executed, then it will start the immediately system takes that it will start executing the second query. Okay, so how long this select query will queue, which means person 1 executed select query. Person 2 also executed select query. Okay, so this case what will happen is this will start executing because he is the person 1 executed first time, so this query is executing in the backend, and this remaining these queries are in waiting. And this query also waiting. Okay, so here the catch here is so how long person 2 person 3 queries queue up, which means how long these two persons queries will queue, in the sense it is waiting for the next step. Okay, how we will get to know is this is Snowflake. While setting the Snowflake itself, Snowflake's support team by default they will set the how many seconds it has to wait. Okay, so if the company want to increase more on that, then accordingly Snowflake will change it. Okay, so how we will get to know here is by executing show parameters. By executing show parameters, so these are the system keys. Okay, so here if you search lock timeout, so the lock timeout it will define you how long the query should wait. Okay, this is the seconds. So if I convert into minutes, 43,200 divided by 60, so 720. So if I divide it by minutes, 60 minutes, then 12 hours it will queue it, which means whatever the queries it was in queue, those queries will wait for up to 12 hours. After 12 hours, those queries it will be automatically cancelled. Clear? So this is the most expected interview question. How long the query should wait? So we should not give straightly 43,200. So this may vary organization to organization. How we will get to know how long the query should queue up? So that cases what we have to do is how our answer should be. If we execute a show parameters, then Snowflake will provide the lock timeout, the parameter lock timeout will define you how long the query should wait. Okay, so by default the lock timeout will be 43,200 seconds. Okay, so if we divide it by 43,200 divided by 60, which means seconds. So after seconds, if you divide it by 60, which means minutes, so it will come 12 hours. So in the description also, if you observe, if you click here, you will get the details, the number of seconds to wait while trying to log the source. Okay, clear? And here you may get the interview questions. This is one, how long the query should wait. So if you execute show parameters, so we will get to know the Snowflake parameter lock timeout will define you how long the query should wait. Okay, so for example, let's take an same example. Executing more than 12 hours. Just imagine it. So this query it is almost waiting 12 hours. Okay, because the first query it is taking more than 12 hours, so automatically this will be query will be cancelled. Here also query will be cancelled. Okay, so Snowflake also will charge money for this. Okay, so how much amount it will charge Snowflake is, if the queries are in queue, here it is 2. If the queries are in queue for 10,000 queries are in queue, then Snowflake will charge 0.06 USD dollars. Okay, this is also an entry question. So Snowflake will charge for query queuing up. Yes, Snowflake will charge query queuing up. So how the charge amount will be is, if the queries are 1,000 queries are in queue, then for 1,000 queries Snowflake will charge 0.06 USD. Clear? This is very minimal amount. Very minimal amount. Any doubts here?
Hello.
All, yeah.
As of now, we are using this one X processor, right? Data warehouse.
Excess. Yes.
Yeah.
Warehouse is extra small.
Extra small. If you use the large, also same time it will appear.
Yes.
Same time only.
Here, it doesn't matter which warehouse size we are using.
Okay.
Okay. So here, this is the fixed. It doesn't matter which edition we are using also. Okay. For 1,000 queries in queue, Snowflake will charge 0.06 USD. So till today, they are charging. So maybe in the future, price may vary. Okay.
Okay.
And how long the query should wait in the queue is by executing show parameters. And if you search for lock timeout, it will define you how long the query should wait. After that, automatically that queries will be cancelled. Clear?
Clear.
Yeah. So, and I don't want to be wait for this many things, this many hours. Okay, so I'll take another scenario. So table or I'll take customer. Customer is the table. This table having some billions of records. Okay, so I have executed select query because I really don't know this customer table having this many records. Okay, so I have executed select query and it is taking uh, more than 1 minute. So I have realized that so this table is taking 1 minute. It seems this table having a huge records. So if I wait for some more time, then Snowflake will charge accordingly, right? So I don't want to wait till the time. So I want to cancel the query. Okay, so that cases, what we have to do is write select system dollar cancel query. So here, as I said, every select query will have query ID, right? If you go to the history, you will get the query ID. Okay. So this is, just imagine this is the select query and it is taking a lot of time. So what we have to do is how we have to cancel a query is you just copy the query ID and you can paste it and you can execute this select query. So automatically the select query will be cancelled. Okay.
Mahesh, while running the query, I can see like the abort option is there. So that doesn't work.
That it will work only for if you having only one query is running. Yes, absolutely it will work. But imagine as a admin. Okay, in admin he can able to view all the user queries which are running. Okay, and this cases you admin having all the user queries, he can able to view it. So that if you share our query ID to the admin guys, so that he will write the select statement and he can execute it. So this is the easiest way to find it. Okay, for our case, if you are executing multiple select statement and you didn't return this code from the scratch, they just give the select query and you are executing in single worksheet, you are executing multiple select queries. So that case, this award will not work. Which select query he has to select manually and you have to verify it, right? And also you cannot conclude in the worksheet which select query is taking more time. You have to go history and here only we can identify which select query which query ID is taking more time. Here total duration you will get it, right? Clear?
Okay, so if I run 10 select queries from worksheet, so for all 10 select queries, 10 query IDs will get generated.
Yes. 10 different query ID will get generated. Okay, so for every query will have its own query ID. Okay, which means every query has its own query ID. So it doesn't matter whether the query is creating a table or if the query is creating or updating the data, or if the query is selecting the data, or if the query is inserting the data, or if the query is updating the data. So every execution of the query it will generate automatic unique query ID. Clear? So if you by clicking on the query ID, it will take you into the high level profile page. So about the select query, every details you will get it. Or else if you expand it here, you will get it. Clear? Any doubts here?
Mahesh,
Yeah.
what about nested queries having multiple select statements?
Multiple select statement is not recommendable in SQL, and we will go for joins. Multiple select queries is not at all recommendable for any of the databases. So that's why they introduced a concept called joins. So we're having many joins: inner join, outer join, left outer join, right outer join, full outer join, natural join, cross join in Snowflake. So we will discuss in detail on that. Okay.
Yeah, fine.
So now we will talk about how the data loading will happen in Snowflake. So yesterday we seen we are loading the data directly to web console. Okay, so don't confuse guys. Web console, web page, both are same only in Snowflake. Okay, this is call it as a web console, or some people they'll call it as a console. Some people they'll call it as a web page. Okay. Yeah. So these are the internal staging area. So I'll tell you. So here how we will load the data into Snowflake is so we having a concept called stages. Two ways we can load the data. So either through external stage. So stage is nothing but is not a database staging area. Okay, Snowflake stage is not a data warehouse sizes. Okay, so don't confuse. The types of stages in Snowflake is external stage and internal stage. External stages means so when we are configuring a Snowflake account, so it is hosting each account either in AWS or Azure or GCP. Okay, so this is the if you hosted a Snowflake on AWS, then AWS will be an external staging area, and internal staging area means so this is a kind of we having three types of internal staging area. One is user stage, name stage, and table stage. Okay, so here you may get doubt, what is staging area here? So the staging area is nothing but the reason behind is that few of the performance tunings may not apply while loading file directly into Snowflake, and it is not at all recommendable in the real time. No one will use this. No one will use while load the file, either Excel or XML file or Parquet file. It is not recommendable to load a file directly into Snowflake. Okay. Here, either the file should be load into either external staging area or either internal staging area. From here, we will load the file into Snowflake. So this is the process we have to follow it. Okay. So here the staging area I have named is a blob storage. So the blob storage, which means how the blob storage will work here is, blob storage is how it will work is it will work like AWS or Azure or GCP. How in AWS and Azure or GCP will work here is, the cloud platforms, they will remove the complete or they will overwrite the full file. They will not replace the when we are trying to updating any one record, it will not update only on specific column. It will delete the complete record and it will overwrite with the new record. Okay, that we'll call it as a blob storage. AWS, Azure, GCP are blob storages. Okay, so Snowflake also on cloud platform, right? So here the staging area is nothing but a blob storage area. So when we are trying to loading up files, before loading them into Snowflake, we will load the data into either external or internal staging areas. From here, we will load the file into Snowflake databases. Okay. So this is the external staging area. This is how the file will get loaded. So in the left side, if you see, so here AWS, GCS, Azure, these are the external staging areas. From the external staging areas, we will load the file. So how we will load it? So we will this time you may not get the clear picture on this because we are not entering into external staging area. So in upcoming classes, you will get more clarity on that. Okay, so once the file is loaded into AWS, then in Snowflake, we will create an integration object. So I'll tell you in detail what is the integration object here. And we will, once the integration object created, then we will create a file format. Then we will create a staging area. With the help of copy into command, we will load the file from external staging area into Snowflake database. Okay. And if you don't have external staging area, which means it is also possible, it is not mandatory to select the cloud, any of the clouds like AWS, Azure or GCP. Some small scale industries, if they are not in a stage to afford that amount, still they can go ahead with the pure Snowflake databases. Okay, so that cases, and they don't want to use AWS and Azure or GCP, any of these public cloud platforms. if they are trying to use indirectly on Snowflake. So that cases here integration object is not at all required because we are internally loading the data. So how we will load the internally is that we will see in today class. Okay. So these are the internal staging areas. Internal staging area are three types. One is user stage, name stage, and table stage and name stage. So if you observe here in the right side at tilde operator, at percentage operator, and at operator. So this is the representation of the symbols. So by looking at the symbols, we can understood that so these are the wherever you see at tilde operator, that it will be an user stage. So here what is user stage is, user stage is represented by at tilde operator. Okay, each user has a Snowflake stage and it will allocated them by default. So when we are using a user stage while loading the data to user stage, it will accessed by single user only. So for example, if you load the data into user stage level, okay, any one person can access the data. Other people cannot access the data. Okay. So if I load the file into table stage, then multiple users can access the data. But here we need to give access for the multiple users. Okay. And table stage will not support any file formats and copy command options. So we will discuss in detail what is copy into command. Okay. And the last one is named stage. The name stage, once you load the file into named staging level, then everyone can access the data, and whoever want to perform any action on that, they can able to perform. In the real time, we can use only named stage only. So no one will prefer to use user stage and table stage. Okay. So here the interview question here is, when we create a staging area, what is the default staging area here is user stage is the default staging area. Clear? So we will see practically how we will load the file into user stage, table stage, and name stage. And first of all, how we will load the data into these staging areas. Okay. So we have to load these files through command line interface, which means SnoSQL or command line interface, both are same only. So for that we have to download software. So from where we have to download the software here is, go to the help tab, click on help tab. So there will be a option called download, click on download. So by default it will be a SnoSQL or CLI, command line interface. Okay, so select this. By default it will be selected, and in case your laptop operating system is either Linux or Windows or Macs, you can download this. Okay, in case your laptop is on only Linux, then you can download this. Okay, so my laptop I'm working on environment called Windows 10. So I'm selecting this. When you click this, it will take you into the new window. You click on Bootstrap, click on 1.2, and click on Windows here, because my operating system is Windows. Click on Windows. Here if you see the last modified, this is the year, month, date format, it will be maintained. So the latest version is this year 6th month it was launched. Okay, so this is the latest version, so I'm downloading this version. Okay, Snowflake 1.2.16 Windows. This is 64-bit. Okay, and my laptop also 64-bit, so I'm downloading 64